I feel like my boundaries between book buying and book reading are getting very blurred. I think I'm slowly changing from a reader into a shopaholic. I have no other choice but to pull the handbrake on my book buying addiction because it is an extreme one. And I have been, let me tell you, I have been in a state of book buying, book hoarding, shopping for books online, shopping for books in person, buying them for my Kindle, trawling different secondhand websites looking for things. I have gone into charity shops and said, oh, I'm not going to buy anything, I'm just going to have a browse, and I've come out with 5 books. And all of these habits that I think I'm starting to accrue a little bit are starting to look like a shopping addiction or a book buying addiction, and that is something that I really want to work on. I want to spend more time reading the books that I want to get to instead of feeling bogged down by the mountains of books I have around me, all the books that are calling me, serenading me, telling me you haven't read me yet. And I want to address my pattern of spending on the amount of books that I buy each year. I'm going to share with you the 5 goals that I have for this challenge for my book buying ban, because it is going to be a total and absolute ban. And then I'm going to share with you the rules and sort of guidelines and restrictions at the end of this video that I think are going to help empower me on this adventure. If you too have been thinking, gosh, I really buy too many books, and it's something that maybe you want to work on, this video is hopefully going to give you some advice and some guidance. I am sharing these with you today because I think if you can identify your why when you have a project or a goal or something you want to work towards, knowing that why gives you so much purpose and determination and helps you become really rooted in your own reasonings for wanting to achieve something. So today we are officially talking about why I am on and have been on a book ban and whether I'll actually survive it. If you're new here, my name is Charlotte and this is Charlotte's Shelves. I'm also a book binger and potentially a book shopaholic, and that needs to change. Please like, comment and subscribe. It really helps my channel. Reason number 1 is to get my consumerism under control. These are some obvious truths and reminders that I need, so I'm going to share them with you. I do not think it is healthy for me to have shopping and the enjoyment of shopping for books to be the source of so much joy and fulfillment. I think the stories that I'm reading and the pieces of art that I'm consuming, that should be where so much of the joy is. It's okay to sporadically enjoy shopping for books. I don't think satisfaction in life lies in the acquisition of physical things, especially to the extreme that I am buying and purchasing books. And I think the older I get, the clearer that becomes to me. I also just don't think that shopping objectively should be as emotionally rewarding or fulfilling as it currently feels when I'm shopping for books. It's a satisfaction that is so fleeting, and I need to be reminded through this ban and through this period of abstinence that purchasing things, whether it's books or other types of items, that shouldn't be how I achieve joy in this life. I also want to underscore that I don't think placing worth or value in the material goods generally that we own is where we should get our worth from. I know that might seem really obvious to some people, but it wasn't for me, especially when it came to books. I loved to own and collect and to hoard for a number of reasons, and I don't think it's good for my mental health to excessively shop in this way. Reason number 2 is to prioritize and read what I already own. When I first decided to potentially go on a book ban, I had 50 odd books on my physical TBR, and I think I've got another 60 or so on my Kindle. So this year I really want to tackle my physical books and then look at my Kindle and have a declutter on my Kindle and then try and tackle what's on that. There are so many books that I already own that deserve my attention, and I want to kind of curb and break the habit of just buying and buying and buying and not reading and reading and reading. I want to prioritize what I already have at home. Like, so much of this is learning to be satisfied with what I already have, what I already have purchased, and making do with what I've already got in my own house. Reason number 3, to own less inventory in all areas of my life. I have been, outside of book buying, really been trying to adopt a more minimalist approach to how I live and the things and objects that I have in my house. Something I learnt about minimalism beyond the sort of buzzwordiness of it very early on was that every possession that we own is a form of inventory. Just like a business or a warehouse will have stock or supplies, what we fill our house with, every object or item, is something that we have to manage and care for. Some things require money or attention or upkeep, but every object has to be stored, cleaned, organized, it physically holds up mental space for us because of its physicality. Our items have to be insured, replaced, or even eventually disposed of. Even static items like books are inventory, simply because they take up space in our home. Each item we own takes up a piece of our mind, or largely our possessions can create guilt when we don't use them. And I get that a lot from my books. This mental overhead as such, this noise can really build up, and I have found that minimalism has helped really quiet that. So owning less inventory means less noise, less stuff, less literal inventory to manage, less decisions to make about the possessions I own. And I think owning less objects gives you more time to enjoy what you do have. It means you have more value in what you choose to keep in your home because it's so much more intentional. And I really think that minimalism allows you to have more time to do things that bring value to you, that aren't based around accruing objects or maintaining objects or looking after your inventory. I really want to spend more time pursuing things that matter to me, reading the books that I've already purchased and enjoying those, then bringing more objects into my house, spending my time shopping and doing things that don't bring me value. Whereas minimalism offers me more time, more freedom to do things that bring greater value to my life than shopping and managing inventory does. Books are probably the only area where I haven't been able to apply these types of minimalist practices that I have been in the rest of my life. It's kind of like it's the final frontier. Reason number 4 is to work on my impulsivity and to be kinder to the planet. And this kind of ties into my previous goal. I have been trying to be more mindful about my spending in general, and 6 or 7 months ago I deleted my Amazon Prime. I knew that that wasn't creating in me good habits or patterns of spending. I don't think it is a natural state to want something and to be able to receive it within 24 hours. I don't think that's good for consumers. I don't think it's good for the planet because of the resources we use to create these objects to then have them on our doorstep within a 24-hour window. I appreciate that might seem silly because the technology and the infrastructure is already there to support that kind of shopping, but I want to disconnect from that. I want to support smaller local businesses. I want to support my local high streets, and I don't want to keep funding a lot of big organisations who morally I don't agree with anymore, and I don't want to keep giving them my money. So many of the sites that I used to love to buy books on have made it as easy as possible for you to want something, to experience that pull, that fixation of I want that thing, and to then receive it. They have made it as seamless as possible for you as a consumer to want something and then to get it. Like the checkout process now on some of these sites is so fast, like one click buy, and I don't think that's healthy. I don't think it's healthy for our brains. I don't think it's healthy for our wallets. And like I said, I don't think it's healthy for the planet. I think some of these sites are capitalizing on these weaknesses, this impulsivity we have, and encouraging poor spending habits in all of us. And God knows so many people are in debt or buying things they don't need. I want to continue working on acts of impulsive spending, especially when it comes to books. And that also starts with slowing down my relationship with this type of consumption. Think about the last time you saw something you wanted to purchase and you saw it on TikTok Shop or Amazon or somewhere. Like, how long was the pause between you seeing it, wanting it, and then leaving it in your basket for a week or so, and then seeing if you still wanted that item a week later? I believe that pause has really helped me build self-awareness, firstly, which is also how I've come to realize I do have a bit of a book buying problem, but it's also helped me build discipline. It's helped me strengthen my finances. And what I'm hopeful that it is doing is instilling me with some courage, but also my ability to choose books or any item that I'm shopping for in a more thoughtful way rather than an impulsive, emotional way. I have referred to the environmental cost a lot in this little rule and section, and something that I just wanted to clarify was that anytime you buy something, like every impulse purchase carries an environmental cost. And what I mean by that is that anything you buy, resources have to be extracted from the planet. This might seem really bloody obvious, but it was not very clear to me in the last few years quite how bad that is. But you have resources extracted, energy is used in production, packaging is created, fuel is used to ship the item and then post it to you, and emissions are generated throughout all of this. But we are also taking things from the earth in order to, often the items that are impulsively bought, they're the ones that most often end up in landfill. But I'm trying to consider what I'm buying as an act of care for the planet in a greater perspective. I'm trying to be so much more intentional about what I bring into my home because I'm so much more aware of the environmental factors and issues at play. I could chat to you on such a detour about everything I've learned about minimalism and environmentalism in the last few years. There's a wonderful YouTuber called Shelby here on YouTube who talks a lot about eco-consciousness as such. She talks in a really non-moralizing way, like you don't feel patronized or being told off while you're learning about the environment from her. And she has just this incredible channel. I will put a link in the bio and on the screen, and you should definitely go check her out if you're curious about tiny ways just to live a more planet-friendly life. Reason number 5, and my final reason, to fall more in love with the act and hobby of reading than the pleasure of spending money on this hobby itself. That is ultimately what this is all about. I just want to reorganize or recalibrate how I'm feeling towards reading, because I had noticed in the last few years my own consumerism had really wrapped up around books, and I think a big impact of that was booktube and BookTok, and people telling me this is the next must read, or if you are a Stephen King girly, here are 10 books by 10 alternative authors that you must read. And I can capture those books in my story graph electronically and come back to them at a time when I'm out of books to read, or when I'm not in a wobbly bingey book cycle. I'm not sure how long I'm going to last. I would really love to give myself 6 months. I think 6 months is a really good window of time in which to try and work on a habit or change it. And I just have no idea how this is gonna go. And I'm gonna try and film monthly uploads and let you guys know. It could be by the end of February I go, I lasted a month. Fingers crossed it doesn't. And if you also have any tips when you're on a book buying ban, or when you're trying to focus more on financial plans, or maybe you have cares for the environment too that you're trying to work on. If you have any tips or tricks that can help me with discipline or resilience on this journey, as silly as it might seem to some people, like not buying books, a hard eye roll, but if you have any advice, please do leave it in the comments, because I'm truly going to need it. Finally, I have given myself 8 rules for the purposes of this book buying ban, and I'm going to share those with you because they are also what is going to help hold me accountable. And if you think of any other rules that I might need, do let me know, because God knows I need some structure in this little adventure we're about to go on. Rule number 1 is the most obvious one, which is no buying books at all. It doesn't matter how cheap they are, it doesn't matter if it's a special edition I might not find again, even if it's a rare one, it doesn't matter if I'm having a sad mental health day and a little coffee and a little secondhand book might make me feel better. It's a no. Books will not be coming through my door for the first 6 months of 2026. Maybe even to the end of 2026, depending on how I get on working through my physical TBR. Rule number 2 is to work through our physical TBR as much as possible. Rule number 3, I will not be accepting bookish donations from family and friends. Free books are often the juiciest of literary temptations, because you haven't had to do anything to receive them. They've just been gifted to you. And I have family and friends who are very generous with giving me secondhand reads, and sometimes I accept books even if I know they're not for me, because I want to give them a home. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I feel like, oh, I'll give it a try, or maybe I'll read that. And then sometimes I take books that I have no intention of reading, but because I was gifted it, I then hang on to that book and think, oh, maybe I'll get to it. And that's so silly, and I don't know why I do that. But by accepting books that I'm probably not going to read means it pushes me further away from books that I would like to read, and it makes my TBR swell. Rule number 4, no free little libraries. I cannot be trusted in the early stages of this to go to free little libraries. There's quite a few near me and I can't be trusted, so I won't be going. I'm sure I'm going to have plenty of book donations, because I do plan to have a look at my physical TBR in the next few days and give a good clear out. But if I have donations, I will give them to my friends to pass on, or I will get someone else to donate them for me. So no free little libraries for now. Rule number 5, I, from a place of curiosity, would really like to keep a notes app of all the books that I want to buy over the next 6 months. And then I revisit that list and see how many of those items in a week, 2 weeks time, do I still want them? Like, how many items are a want, not a need? And I think I would just find it fascinating in 6 months time to look back and see which books in that moment I really felt I wanted. Like, I had to buy that, I should have bought that, I've missed that opportunity. To look back in a few months time and think, God, how many of those did I not need? I think that'll be a really fun and interesting exercise. And I think that will be really good evidence to show how impulsive some of my purchases could be. Goal number 6 is not spending a ton of money at the library. So just because I'm not buying books at the moment, does not mean I can run up a bunch of interlibrary loans requesting the books that I want to read. So our library charges you a couple of quid per book that you request, and that could add up really quickly. if I was allowing myself that as like a loophole in which to get books. So I've made a rule and an agreement with myself that I'm only going to, if I do go to the library, only read books that are available there on the shelves. Rule number 7 is to share monthly progress updates with you guys. I touched on that briefly already, but I would love to give you an update with how I'm doing, if I've managed to avoid buying any books, and also sharing what has tempted me along the way. I think looking at the habits or the times that I felt triggered or I had an itch to spend, I think that could really help me address my shopping habits. But I also think sharing it with you is going to be a really strong form of accountability. So that is everything. I have shared with you some of the very serious reasons why I want to get my book spending under control. I feel a touch vulnerable sharing that with you, but also some of the rules and stipulations that I have created for myself to try and give me some success within this. I truly do not know how I will do. The next video I will probably upload will be a video for the end of the month to share with you how January went. I'm praying it's not going to be too torturous, but I will keep you updated, and please do subscribe if you want to see further updates throughout the year. Thank you so much for watching if you made it this far, and please do like, comment, subscribe, and let me know if you've ever been on a book buying ban and how that went for you, because I'm going to need all the help I can get.